absolutely thrilled to welcome you to the 17th podcast episode of Let's Talk. A heartfelt thank you to our new followers for your support and encouragement. Our podcast is not just another conversation, it's a deep dive into the inspiring stories of our guests. If you're here to aspire success in your career, you've come to the right place. Don't forget to follow and subscribe to our channel. Without further ado, let's get started. It's Let's Talk, and I'm your host, Aisha. Today with us we have Mr. Chandu Nair, angel investor, startup advisor and entrepreneur with over 30 years of experience across industry, media and entrepreneurship. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much, Aisha, for having me.
From Asian Paints to business world to building and exiting ventures like Scope Knowledge Center, he's seen the startup journey from all angles. Having invested in 40 plus startups and serving on boards like the Chennai Angels, IIT Madras, and IIMK Live, Mr. Nair brings deep practical wisdom. Let's dive into a real no fluff conversation with true ecosystem builder. So, to start off, sir, you've been on both the sides as a founder and an investor. What do you think founders often misunderstand about building businesses?
That it takes a long time to build a business, and that it takes a lot of effort, and it takes a lot out of you. And a lot of people think you can become an overnight success, but as Shah Rukh Khan, Lionel Messi have said, it takes 15 years to be an overnight success. A lot of people I don't think are willing to wait that long. And that even if you look at many of the good companies which have really become big and huge, it has taken that time. Whether Google started 98, it's now 27 years old.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't realize that it is almost getting middle-aged very soon. So that, I think, is one of the things they often misunderstand. That it takes a lot of time and it takes a lot out of you.
That's really great, sir. Can you take us back to the early days of Scope e-knowledge? What was the hardest lesson you learned during that journey?
What is hardest lessons is that it is so easy to go bankrupt. And we went bankrupt twice. So the toughest thing is, okay, you can manage it on the professional side. But when you go back to a house and if you have a small child and the child asks, what are the things, why can't I do this when my other friends are doing that? You can answer people in the office, you can answer professionally, but you cannot answer a small child. So that's one of the toughest things to manage. Okay. The other thing is also that, like I said, to balance this work-life balance is something that really doesn't exist especially when things go tough. So I would say that many times you might want to spend time with your loved ones or on your personal interests, but it just doesn't happen. So you might have some regret because you missed some important event in your child or your wife's life or whatever. So you'll have all these big challenges always to find, to grapple with. So a lot of people think that the real conflict, the conflict is between right and wrong. But I found that being an entrepreneur, the real conflict is between right and right. That's the toughest thing.
Okay, that's really great, sir. So you've invested in over 40 companies. What are the top 3 things you look before investing?
First is the entrepreneur. So I look at 2 things which are for many investors and people like me, 2 eyes, as I keep repeating very often. 2 eyes are very important. First is the individual. I would say that's the most important. And I believe an individual who's committed, who's passionate, and who believes in his or her idea can take even the most basic or ordinary of ideas and make some extraordinary business out of it. Okay. So for me, the individual and his or her commitment is the supreme thing. And whether that individual is able to pivot, to manage, to change with the times, and to be willing to listen and accommodate what seems reasonable, I would say that is the most important ingredient. Side by side, like it's the 2 sides of a coin. The other eye is the idea. So the heads, you can say, is the individual. The tails, you can say, is the idea. So if the idea too is an idea whose time has come, is riding that cycle in the right time, okay, because every business has a cycle and there's a timing of entry. So if it is at the right time and if it is something unique, differentiated, and something that can be defended, It could be a great brand. It has some great IP. It has some customers who are very sticky. Okay, so those, if you look at all those things, for me, those would be the two most very important things to look at. More than the idea, I would say today and anytime, it is the ability to execute very well consistently that is more vital, because anybody can get an idea.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, but it's the ability to execute and with discipline, focus, that really makes the difference between an okay entrepreneur and a great entrepreneur.
That's really wonderful, sir. So you've involved with Chennai Angels, IIM, IIT Research Park, and more. What role do you see mentorship playing in startup growth today?
In India, particularly, I think mentorship is still not understood very well. What I've seen with many mentors or mentees is the following. From the mentor side, typically many mentors think that once they have reached a certain age, you know, and they've reached a certain stature in their mind, they think they are ready to give gyan, to give advice. Okay, that is one part which I think is unfortunate, because I think this mentoring, in my view, is a relationship between two people where both should ideally gain from the engagement in some different ways. Mentees also many times are very sufficiently knowledgeable about how to get the best. Most seem to be focused on what I call the two C's. One C is cash, the other C is customers. They don't seem to go beyond that.
Yeah,
Many times I think the real journey for a good mentee is how he or she improves himself, how he or she becomes a better entrepreneur. So if you see, for me, because I've evolved over the years, would I say I was a good to be a CEO in the early part of my entrepreneurship journey? I would say no, because I did not have all the skills, the abilities to be a CEO. But because I was the founder, I think I should be the CEO.
yeah,
So I think those are things, that people really need to understand. So a true mentee, a good mentee, a true mentoring relationship is where the mentor and the mentee work together to help both the mentee grow and the business grow. Both happen together. That I think is still not happening. But that for me is the true test of a good mentoring engagement.
that's fantastic, sir. So, what's a common mistake you see first time founders make when pitching to investors?
They assume all investors are the same.
Okay.
Okay, that doesn't happen, because, for example, I've seen there are investors who like, say, deep tech. There are some investors who like consumer. Okay, there are investors with a higher risk appetite, and there are investors who are investors only in name. They pretend to be investors. So first mistake they make is not understanding the investor. So you really need to do your research. Just because somebody calls himself or herself investor doesn't mean that they are an investor.
Yeah,
So you need to do your homework. 90% of companies or entrepreneurs don't do enough background work on who they are talking to. What is his past track record of investments? Compared to my time earlier, today you have a lot of databases, where you can check what he or she has invested in. You have a lot of forums like TI, or other places, incubators itself, other entrepreneurs will tell you, we have worked with this investor, he or she is like this. They're not doing enough work. They just come in cold and say, okay, this is what I have. The big mistake they make is, one, like I said, not understanding what the investor, who the investor is. Number two, they're more interested in only saying what they want,
yeah,
not in what they will offer, what the investor will get. Okay. If you're looking at also building that person's interest, you need to say, I'm willing to give you this. Or you have the potential to get this for yourself. So you have a real good relationship between investor and investees, where the investee looks out for the investor's interest also. So one, understanding the investor. Two is looking after the investor's interest. These are two big mistakes that most startup founders make.
that's really amazing, sir. So, before we wrap up, that's great, sir. That was really an amazing session with you, sir. So, I'm sure our viewers also would have gained a lot of valuable insights from you. Until next time, keep watching Let's Talk, and I'm your host signing off. Thank you, sir.
We need more subscribers, okay?